This podcast is brought to you by Firehouse Subs, the firefighter-founded hot sub chain with a passion for hearty and flavorful food, heartfelt service, and public safety. Ready for your next mission? Firehouse Subs is offering firefighters the opportunity to continue serving after service, now as restaurant owners. Learn more at www.firehousesubfranchising.com. All right, welcome to the next edition of Fire Engineering's Tactical Impact, the special edition, the FDIC edition. We've been here for the last couple days, and what a great time we've had already. Very, very memorable. You know, FDIC is why we exist. We come here. This is the Mecca, and we're very glad to be here. We got a great show for you here today, and it's very special for us because one of our good friends is here with us today, and he needs no introduction. This is the one, the only Frank Viscuso. Frank, welcome aboard.
Thank you very much. I was more impressed with that introduction of you reading that right there. I thought, it's like you've done this before.
I didn't stumble. It was amazing.
You didn't stumble. I was going to try to, do the little finger in the ear, wet willy. No,
but
I'm getting text messages for voiceovers for contracts. I'll be your agent.
There you go.
You never know. And with us, as always, is Chief Jason Hoevelmann.
Good to be here.
And our good friend, the retired fire chief, Chief Steve Olschwanger.
Thank you for having me.
It's always good.
Frank.
It's always good to have you here, pal. Like I said, this is the FDIC edition, and we've already seen some great stuff this week. Before we get Frank going here, let's talk a little bit about the week and what we've seen. Jason, what have you seen already?
Well, the obvious thing is it's like a family reunion. Even the people you don't know, but the folks that you see, that you get introduced to, that you run into, sit in a class and have a discussion with, that's always an incredible thing. And of course, the dinners and the get-togethers and the impromptu events and organizations that spend time with each other. And then, of course, opening ceremonies this morning was outstanding. And Chief David Rhodes knocked it out of the park with an incredible message. And then you can't go wrong with Mike Champo. You know, what a great story and keynote he delivered for the fire service. And it sets the rest of the week off on the right tone. And we're excited also because tomorrow it's going to do the same thing all over again as we honor our buddy Frank over here.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, you asked how the week's going so far. I was thinking just the other day how, my mentors, I met them all here, and my mentors have become my best friends. That's what's special about FDIC, And it's pretty awesome just to be able to get together with everybody and hang out and have the real conversations. The meetings after the meetings are powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
Steve, how about you?
Same. Friends that we've been seeing up here for so many years. What is this, the 30th or 31st year in Indy? I know some of us have been coming up that long. And again, just incredible opening ceremony, like Jason said. Amazing. The whole thing was just, great. And then, again, getting to see our buddy Frank. We were fortunate in St. Louis a few months ago. He was there doing some classes, so we got to visit with him there, and it's great to see him again. And congratulations.
Thank you, buddy.
Very well deserved.
Thank you. I apprete that. We had a good time out
We
there,
did.
too.
We had a great time. Yes, we did.
So I'm going to reiterate what Jason said. Opening today was just phenomenal. David's message was right on with the whole safety message, but we still have a mission, and it really resonates, especially in the fire service today. And he really hit it. And then of course Champ. We just love Champ, and Champ's just been a staple here. I know I've taken classes from him back forever ago, but Champ has been a staple here at the FDIC, and he's just one of those guys. It's our guy. He is definitely the guy we love. And we're just so glad that he looks so great right now from what he's been through. And, we're just very blessed that he's turned a corner here. But anyway, so last year at our FDIC edition, we were very fortunate to have a special guest as well. We started this tradition of having the George D. Post Instructor of the Year, which last year was our good friend, Bill Gustin, who, we're going to really honor tomorrow night. And it's going to be tough. Yeah. I know it's really tough for you, Jason. You were really close. You went down to Miami, and you went to his memorial. We had our last show, our last episode. We memorialized Bill, and it was very special for us. But we were very, very lucky to have him on, and I still remember that talk here last year. And all he wanted to do was improve. You know, all he wanted to do was improve, and he just kept. He was just the forever learner, right? And you know, we're just, like I said, we can all learn from him. He was a mentor of all of ours, good friend. But anyway,
Yeah, and I think it's a fitting tribute to come here, learn, teach, and I think it epitomizes what Frank demonstrates and why he got the award this year, which we're so proud of him and excited for him to do, because Frank also, like Bill, is a lifelong learner, and he's a lifelong sharer of that knowledge, and it's made all of us better. And to Frank's point, you know, our mentors and the people that we've called legends or icons or whatever title you want to give them, all, we came here at some point, probably the majority of us, in awe of these people, bigger than life, Bill being one of those, of course. And then once you get to meet them and they're all friends, and then behind the scenes what we talk about is baseball, lacrosse, cheerleading,
You ever hear that saying,
vacations.
Is something in terms of you never want to meet your heroes?
Yeah,
Well, that's opposite here.
100%.
You do here.
100%.
Yeah.
Because then you say, wow, they're real, because you see them as being like larger than life in so many ways. And sometimes you wonder if you can measure up to them. And I'm going to say this, John Sawka's going to be upset with me, but John Sawka one day was telling me about how he was crying watching a show about them catching dolphins and how the dolphins were dying. He goes, and I'm crying watching this thing. And I'm going, what? and I'm laughing, going, I'm thinking he's telling me a joke. He's like, no, I just got really emotional. I don't know, so I must be getting old. And I'm like, I love this guy.
Yeah.
I love this guy.
Yeah.
It's real, man.
Yeah.
It's real, and everybody's approachable, and that's what's cool. You can go up and they want to talk to you. They want to share stories, and so that's the cool thing.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, this is Tactical Impact, the show about tactics. But today we're not going to be talking about tactics on the fire ground. We're going to be talking about making an impact in the fire service. And that's why we have our friend on here today, because he is the 2025 George D. Post Winner of the Year, Instructor of the Year. And what a fitting honor. It's well-deserved. Everybody knows who Frank is. Frank makes an impact on the fire service. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But Frank, thanks for being on with us today.
Happy to be here, man.
Congratulations.
So, yes, for
Absolutely.
sure.
Thank you.
So talk a little bit about how you got started in this thing we call FDIC and the instructor world.
I never set out to be a fire service instructor per se. I didn't know any of this existed. I heard about the conference. First time I came to this conference, I was actually an author, believe it or not, because I heard about it, but I didn't really know much about what it was. And that was the book, Fireground Operational Guides, that I co-authored with Mike Turpak. And when I came here, I said, I can't believe I've been missing this. But the funny thing is, I wasn't doing that. I was doing a little bit of teaching, but not much, and certainly not much on leadership. And I've told this in my keynote, but this is the truth. I mean, I co-taught a class with Mike Turpak, and Mike is the best teacher I have ever spent time with. And that's saying a lot, because there's tremendous teachers here. And it's not to diminish anyone else, but from my county, he knew so much. He had experienced so much. He was able to convey the message. I'm like, I can't believe. He was my academy instructor, and here I am, 15 years later, I write a book with the guy, with information I learned from him. So I kind of feel a little bit like a fraud, too, because it's him. But I said, let's go down, we'll teach a class together, and we did, and the reviews came in afterwards, and he went to read the reviews. I didn't, and I said, did you read them? He goes, yeah. I said, are they good? He goes, yeah, I'm like, what? He's like, no, they're good. I'm like, you don't look like they're good. Well, what did some people say? And he didn't want to tell me. I'm like, dude, tell me. You got to tell me. He's like, yeah, just go read them. Go read them, And bottom line is, everybody loved Mike Turpak. Everybody loved Mike Turpak. And one guy's like, Mike, we'll take any class that you ever teach. It was amazing, but who's this guy that you're teaching with, And I'm like, oh, man. And 2 of those reviews were so bad, it is no joke. I folded them up, I put them in my pocket, I said, no one's ever going to know they exist. Because it hurt. I'm like, I'm that bad? So here I am, instructor of the year, right? Here I am, years earlier, feeling like that was a complete failure. I'm never going to put in to teach again. And I'm at the airport getting ready to come home, and I'm sitting there feeling really down on myself. And I suddenly thought, you know what? I should have never wrote that book. That was Mike's content, his topic, so to speak, tactics, right? I'm about leadership and team development. I need to write a book about that. And right there, I conceived the idea for Step Up and Lead. So it was a failure that led to the idea for Step Up and Lead. So when I write Step Up and Lead, I honestly thought I probably won't sell 100 copies, but I never cared. I'm writing what I feel in my heart. And that's all I ever write, by the way, what I feel in my heart. And I came here, I just had lunch this afternoon with Jim Duffy. After I left FDIC, the second year I taught Step Up and Lead, few people in the class. Jim Duffy says, actually I didn't teach Step Up and Lead, that's before that. The book was out, Jim read the book, and he said, hey, I just read your book, you have a class on this, right? I go, yeah. I didn't. He goes, well, we have a bunch of officers that need this training. Can you send me a quote for 4 days of training? I said, yeah, of course. I don't know, how do you send a quote? What's the quote look like? I don't know. So I actually go online, I Google it, I just kind of mimic it, I send it to him. He gets right back to me and goes, my chief approved it, he wants to bring you in. Can you come in like later this month? I'm like, yeah. And we put 4 days on the calendar and then I panic. Because now I have to create the class.
Right.
But then I'm like, well, so Jim just told me, now if you know Jim Duffy, and you guys know Jim Duffy, he is the most honest human being on the planet. You're probably right there with him too, by the way, Jason. You know, very stand-up, honest people. Jimmy, not so much.
Where am I at this?
Jimmy's one of my best friends, right? But listen, he just told me, he goes, Frank, you weren't good. Your content was good, but you were stiff. You weren't. And when Jim Duffy tells you you weren't good, you know you weren't good.
He was honest.
He's telling the truth.
Bottom line is this. Why I'm sharing this with you is I want to give whoever's listening to this some hope. You could be really bad at something and learn to get okay at it. And after 1,000 presentations, I can tell you that it just feels comfortable sharing the message. There's no script. The slides are the same. The class is always different because I never know where it's going to go because I'm just following my heart, just to speak from the heart. And I think if anybody's listened to this and they are an instructor, you speak from your heart, the message is going to find a home. It's going to find a home. And I know you guys do that.
Well, one thing I just learned is the reason why we went paperless at FDIC is not for the environment, it's because Frank Viscuso cheated. So now we can't do that because all of our evaluations are all uploaded. No, I'm kidding. But
Yeah. Can I tell you? All right, I'm just going to tell the story. I know we're not going in this direction.
Yeah.
I got to tell you the story. This guy right here, okay? Great friend, terrible driver. This guy right here, he brings his family to the Jersey Shore, and because he's not far from me, I say, Jim, let's get together with our family. So we get together on a seaside boardwalk. My kids are baseball players. They pitch, you know, young, very young. But every time I go to the boardwalk, they want to play games, the frog bog, throw in the darts, all that stuff. And I'll play those games because you can win those games. But the one they want to play that I will not let them play is where you throw the baseball at the 3 blocks. Specifically because the guy that owns that stand, I know him. And he says, Frank, no one wins this. It's rigged. I'm like this is your stand. He goes, I didn't rig it. It's just nobody can do that. It's like 1 out of a million. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah. So I tell my kids, I'm not paying $5 for something you have no chance at winning, ever. His son, Will, says, "What? I want to throw the baseball." I said, "Will, nobody ever wins that thing." He goes, "I don't care." So he's $5, takes a baseball.
It's Dad's money.
Throws it.
It's Dad's
Listen,
money.
He throws it. He knocks all 3 balls off in one shot. Now my kids think I'm a liar. The kid wins a bike. I'm like, what? So I called Jimmy about a month later. I said, Jimmy, I just want you to know I'm $180 into that game, and my kids still have not won. Thank you, Will.
yeah, thanks, Will.
That's Will.
That is
Yes.
Will.
Yep.
Yes. Oh, my God. That's great.
Sorry to take a left turn
No, that's
there.
great. No, it was just a wild week that we had down there at the shore. But what do you think? I'm going to put you on the spot. What is your greatest accomplishment?
Honestly, I don't think it's my greatest accomplishment. I would give it more to my wife, my kids.
I knew you were going to say that. So I was going to save this to the end, but what people don't know about Frank Viscuso is he is a tremendous, well, first of all, not only is he one of my best friends, but he is a tremendous father, tremendous husband, and I know Laura's probably listening right now, and I know she's proud of you because she liked our Facebook page, but and then his kids are just phenomenal. Nikki, Frankie, and Tommy, they're all very proud of you.
I got lucky, and she's a great mom. The kids are, I think they're smarter than I ever was. They're better athletes than I ever was. I think they're better people than I ever was at that age. I was just too insecure, and they're both, my youngest ones right now, because my oldest one's out. But my youngest ones are they're just both so secure in themselves, and it's great to see that when your children grow up that way.
Absolutely.
And I just found out yesterday that your daughters are on the same lacrosse team.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
That's fun.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
But if you try to book Frank at certain points of the year, you're not. Or, I don't know. Are you still coaching?
I am.
So you're not going to get him because coaching for him, baseball comes first. Is it not?
It's not so much baseball comes first. It's my family does, and so there's certain times of a month. Like for example, most of July, that's big baseball for us. All-Stars, all that stuff's going on, and so I keep it open. I'll do stuff during the day if I can get home for lunch or get home for the game, but I don't travel out of state much those months, But that's the beauty of what we do, you kind of can make your own schedule to a certain degree. But I'm also very, in a sense, and again, I'm saying this to help anybody that's listening, I have a sense of insecurity about it too, because there's a part of me that says, I really believe my message is relevant. I really believe it's impactful. I really believe it can help people. But I'm also afraid, what if this is the year it becomes irrelevant and not as impactful? Because it means so much to me to be able to share the message that I share to try to help people improve their lives and their careers. I want to help create better cultures, right? But what happens if at some point, hey, you know what, he's kind of, on the back burner.
If you impact one person, though, you've done it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I'm just.
And you're doing it. Don't be hard on yourself.
It's not even hard.
You're impacting a lot of people.
I appreciate that. But I think that's what I'm trying to say is I know a lot of up and coming instructors that are dealing with certain things. Like one guy said to me today, he goes, I stood out in front of my class just hoping 10 people walked in. I said, me too, and he laughed. I said, I'm serious, me too. I said, I hope I get people every year to come into my class because you are so passionate about your message. You want to deliver the message, but at the same time, you never know. But you just have. But I'm also at peace with saying if 6 people show up, that's the 6 I needed to speak to that day.
There you go.
And that's it, for whatever reason.
Absolutely.
Whatever
I think
reason.
people don't recognize, and we can kind of pull the curtain back a little bit, but just about every instructor here, you, me, Jimmy, if you watch them and you pay attention and you talk to them, we've all got that insecurity.
Yeah.
And we'll be working on that class that we've taught dozens of times up to this till as last minute that we possibly can.
I put in 3 new slides this morning
because we're so worried about making it good.
Yep.
And trying to have that impact, if you will, and because of you second guess yourself sometimes, and those are some of the lessons
But if
that
you
you
guys
see.
weren't good, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a reason you're back every year.
I guess the
doing what you
message
do,
is
so.
for all the people coming up that insecurity is normal, that
Yeah,
fear
it's
is
normal.
normal,
Yep.
that no matter how far you go in this business as an instructor, whether it's here or local or regional, that healthy fear of not being able to project that information and that knowledge is always there.
Yeah.
It never goes away.
Right.
It might ebb and flow here and there, but it's always there, right?
Right.
I can tell you, Frank Viscuso is not close to irrelevance because
No.
if you're going to sign at the author's booth, don't sign with Frank because there's always lines.
Well,
Thank
you
God
do
for
that, you take
dog.
pictures for
No.
them.
Did you hear what I said? Thank God for that dog. No, he
Well,
always.
let's talk about the dog.
Let's talk about the dog.
Because
Sprinkles, for those who are unaware.
yeah, Sprinkles the fire dog. Because I had Scott Thompson come up to me last year and say, "What's the secret to writing a successful children's book?" I said, "It's very easy. You write a story and you give it to Paul Combs to illustrate, because he is great. He is unbelievable at what he does, man. I can't praise that guy enough." And here's the thing about the Sprinkles series. That series, I think I get more out of that than anybody else, because I wrote the story, and at the end of the story, there are the books. There's questions you can ask your children, and kind of that are relevant to the story. Like, what are your dreams, and what's something you could do, and has anybody ever made you feel, I guess, sad? If so, what do you do about it? That kind of stuff. I mean, all these questions, and so I get these panels from Paul before anybody else, obviously. He's like, okay, so I did 3 today, the first 3, and he sends them to me, and I see them for the first time before anybody else, and I get blown away every time. And it's impactful for me solely because his incredible talent. If you ever look at anything this guy draws, like the bricks in the background of the buildings, he'll take certain bricks and put cracks in them to make it look like, hey, I want this to look like it's a 50-year-old building. So a 50-year-old building is going to have cracks here, and they're going to look like this. And he'll have the grass growing out of the crack on the ground. He does that stuff, and it's the detail that people don't even know unless you look for it. So you want to talk about using your talent.
Yeah.
There's a guy that figured out, this is my talent, this is my message, I'm going to share it with the world. Thank God.
And it helps
Oh
us
my
get our
God,
message
yes.
out there. It really does. I mean,
Yes.
It does.
it's just, he's not just an artist. I mean, he does.
No, he's spot on every time
Yeah.
something comes out. It's like everybody can relate to it.
It's amazing.
It is amazing. It is.
But, I mean, getting back to Sprinkles, I mean, we almost didn't do that book, right?
Right.
I mean, and, the whole question was, this is an educational, and maybe I'm getting into waters I'm not supposed to, but what the heck? This is live, you can't take it back. Our organization is educational,
Right.
but that dog does bring education because it brings the little people in, and it gets them, it gets that culture built and gets them behind it. I think it absolutely fits.
We had the educational aspect of it was on our mind when we were doing it, but more so it was this. Man, this is a stressful job. I've seen. Let's get real, man. I put bodies into body bags of children younger than my children, and multiple bodies in one job. You've seen stuff. Everybody has seen stuff. And we get home and we have to find a way to put it in a compartment where it doesn't come in our house with us. And that book there was simply made to say, here's something you could sit down with your children and just, in a sense, bring a little bit of your world into their world in a positive way. Have that time with them. Yeah, daddy's a firefighter, mommy's a firefighter. We're going to read this story, but we're going to learn from it and not have to so much bring the other stuff home. There's a short story that I wrote. It's not published, but there's a character in there that really has a great disposition in life, right? And he's kind of counseling this young guy that's trying to figure out, how do you not let things bother you is the question. How are you not bothered by the fact that this guy stole from you? He says, well, and he lives in this beautiful little cottage, but there's this ugly twisted tree in front of it. He says, you see that tree right there? He says, yeah. He says, that's my trouble tree. Every day I come home, I put my hand on that tree and I leave my troubles there. And I don't bring them in my house. And what's amazing is every morning when I leave my house, it always seems like there's less trouble left at that tree than what I left there the night before.
Yeah.
And I think we all need to get better at doing that.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, what's up next for Frank Fiscuso?
Author's dinner tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for hanging out with you guys. I don't know. Well, right now I have 2 new books that are coming out this year. It is, I've been teaching a class for years, 25 things every firefighter must know and do. I've teaching that class for about 10 years, and For some reason, it felt right to write the book. But as I'm writing the book, I went to 26, and then 27, then 28, then 29, and I got up to 35. And I said, all right. And then I felt like I was forcing, like, trying to find, like maybe I should go to 50. Then I'm like, no, 35 is right. I'm sticking with 30. So it's 35 things every firefighter must know and do. I write the book, and I have a lot of momentum, and I go immediately into writing 35 things every fire officer must know and do. And it's 35 completely different things. But the funny thing is, that one stopped at 35 too. So I'm like, all right, this is what it's supposed to be. It's not a random number. It's not a chosen number.
We know why it's 35.
Why?
Because it's 10 more than our buddies, and you had to one-up them.
Who?
Doug and-
That's funny. Doug and Dan, 25. What's their book? 25 what? 25 to Survive. Great book.
Yeah.
25 to Survive. That is funny right there. But the reason I bring that up is those two books, I proposed them to fire engineering. And here's another thing. I proposed it to them not knowing if they were going to even want it. So some people think at some point you think every year, I'm going to give more hope to people. I have been denied a class that I proposed every single year for 10 years here at FDIC. Mm-hmm. I always put in for 2 classes.
Yeah, right.
I only get 1.
Sure.
So it happens to all of us.
Right.
All of us. And when I proposed these 2 books, I was 100% prepared to hear, it's just not right for us. And I would just have to be willing to accept that and say, all right, let me figure out how else I'm going to get this message out there then. But I'm grateful that they said, yeah, we want to pick it up. So they'll be out by FDIC 2026.
Outstanding.
Awesome. And congratulations on your book.
Oh, thank you very much.
Non-traditional truck company, long time coming.
It was a
my friend. I know
long
you've
time
been working.
coming, and we finally got it out there.
Yeah.
We're excited, got it out there today, and thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Had a good room today.
Yeah, I was just going to say you had
Yeah.
a full house in
Yeah.
your room, so good for you. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Good deal.
You got 2 minutes tomorrow. Is it 2 minutes?
I got 2 minutes.
What are you going to say? You going to give us any highlights here, or are you going to keep it secret?
So here I was we were in that speaker ready room, and I'm with a few guys, PJ Norwood, Jimmy Duffy, a few other guys, David Rhodes. And Jimmy says to David, he goes, do you ever get nervous when you speak? And Dave's like, no, not anymore. And he goes, why do you? And Duffy says, yeah, I do. He goes, it usually takes me about 2 minutes to kind of not get nervous, like 2 minutes to feel the room. And I sat here thinking, I think that's pretty accurate with me, and I only got 2 minutes to speak,
yeah.
so I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be comfortable.
Yeah.
2 minutes is not enough to say something that I would feel compelled to say, because there's so much I want to say, but it's not a keynote, and that's not a place to do that. It's just I'm hoping that I can say a word or something to the instructors in the room, because that's what it's about, to try to give them some encouragement. I mean, listen, one of the things I've been thinking is when you choose to become an instructor, you're choosing to expose yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And when you expose yourself, there's a chance you're going to get some criticism. It comes with the territory. The hard part is sometimes that criticism comes from your own organization or people that you thought were going to support you. I think it's real important as instructors that remember, it's not us against the critics. It's not us against them. It's not us against each other. It's us against complacency. It's always been us against complacency. So we may have a different message. We may have a different delivery. We may have a different path. But at the same time, we're all in this together. And I think it's really important that the instructors support each other on that aspect and give good advice to people. Because there's some people out there that are giving dangerous advice. And I don't, maybe to build their brand, but they're giving dangerous advice, and it concerns me because you asked what my proudest accomplishment was, and it was my children. You know what my second one was? Fire department related, my proudest accomplishment? Nobody got hurt.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Minor ankle twist, something like that
Right.
here and there.
Sure.
No serious injuries. So I wrote in Step Up and Lead that when I retired I wanted to make sure that basically I did everything in my power to make sure that everybody got home safely. And you can do everything right and things can still go wrong. A lot of great friends of mine lost lives, fires that they were in command of. They did nothing wrong.
Right.
So that can happen, I know that. But I read one time where Lasky wrote, you know, if I can basically, at the end of our career, people basically get out healthy with 2 good knees, a good back, and good lungs. I'm like, well, that's even better, right? Wear your Scott pack, you know?
Yeah.
I had a conversation one time with one of my officers. I go in after every fire, I go on my meter. I check the CO levels. And that meter just went off immediately as soon as I walked in. So the CO levels are pretty high. And this is a problem. So I tell everybody I want you on air when you're pulling ceilings and checking for extension. The fire's out, but I want you on air. So a couple minutes later, one of the officers walks out. To put this in perspective, we went to high school together. He is a captain. I'm the deputy, the tour commander. We went to high school together. We've known each other, you know, since whenever. I mean, for 25 years. And he comes up to me and he says, "Chief, is it okay if we?" And if we're in quarters, he's calling me Frank. Like we know each other. But Chief, is it all right if we take our tanks off? I said, "No, not yet. I want you on air." He says, "Listen, I can hardly lift up my arms and the guys are exhausted." I said, "Go to rehab. I'll send someone else." And he goes, "No, we can do the job, but can we just take our tanks off?" I said, "No, I want you on air when you're in the building right now." And he does one of these things where he kind of rolls his eyes almost like a teenager would and starts walking away. I go, "Cap, come here." He comes real close to me. It's just him and me. And I said, "How old's your daughter?" He said, "What?" I said, "How old's your daughter?" He said, 13. Why? I said, "Because I want you to dance with your daughter at her wedding. So put your tank on."
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And he said, "I got it." But here's the point. Tell people why.
Right. 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 But he's at that age, like some of us, that we didn't do it back in the day.
No.
You know,
No,
it
man.
was, who needs a mask, you know, and you're tough and blah, blah, blah.
My
But
father
yeah.
tells me the greatest invention in the fire service, the SCBA, because he was on a job when they were just coming out. You
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yep.
legitimately. You
Probably
know,
can count on one hand how many times he used it. Yeah.
When I first got on the job, we just got out of riding off the back of the apparatus. We still had to pull up boots.
Yep, me
First
too.
fire went into, I forgot to pull them up, by the way.
Yep,
And I'm rolling, you know, so my knees are wet and hot.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
what's
Oh,
going
yeah.
on here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And no hoods. We didn't have hoods when
yeah,
I
so hoods
started.
came
Yeah,
later.
Right. Right. Yeah, it's.
Okay, what advice does Frank Viscuso have for the new generation? Both just fire service in general and for anybody who's wanting to get into the fire instructing.
First and foremost, it's okay to think outside the box, but please learn what's in the box.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Learn why we do what we do.
Great point.
I had a gift given to me today. You know, this is the gift. I'm about to teach my class, and one guy looks at me just before my class starts, and I look at him, and I'm like, I know this guy. And he goes, "How you doing?" I said, "Good. How are you?" And then, boom, it hits me. It's Lathy Workus. He's a guy I wrote about my very first book. And he is a guy that survived the flashover. And he has a remarkable story. He had a Nomex sweatshirt before anybody even was wearing Nomex hoods. He bought it with his own money. He had pull-up bunker pants when everybody still had roll-up boots because he paid for it out of his own money. And when he went in to do a search in a building with no hose line, the fire's rolling across the ceiling, but he's told somebody's in that room. He goes in that room to search. His partner couldn't get in the room because his partner didn't have the protection. It was too hot. But he got in the room because he had the right protection. And as he's doing a search, the room flashes over because someone on the outside throughout, because they weren't coordinating, takes out the windows.
Sure.
The room flashes over. He tries to get out. The closet door's shut. He thinks that's the door to get into the hall, but it's the closet. He goes and he dives between two windows because he knows there's a window there, falls right on the ground, misses the window, and he's lying there. It burns off his gloves. The fire burns off his gloves. He could see nothing but orange glow in his mask, and he's saying, "I can't believe I'm going to die here. This is it." And all of a sudden, he sees like this tube of fire moving in a direction above him. It just kind of starts moving in a direction, and he has the presence of mind to think, it has to be venting.
Right.
It has to be venting. So he stands up and dives into the fire and falls out the window on the other side. He says, I've never seen bigger blue eyes in my life than the firefighter when I jumped out, because he didn't know anybody was in there. But he tells a second part of that story. Now, here's the thing. When I write this book, first book I ever wrote, by the way, but when I write this book, I'm sitting down with a guy who is far more intelligent, a better firefighter than I will ever be, more courageous, more decorated. In other words, this is the guy you want in your foxhole. He's got the reputation. And I'm thinking, I'm going to tell his story, but I'm not on the same level as this guy, and I'm well aware of that. But as he's telling me the story, he talks about how he went to the burn center and went through all these procedures and all these operations, and then ended up coming back as a dispatcher, wanted to be a firefighter, so eventually came back. Now here he is. First fire comes in. He's walking into the building, and he stops. And he says, I can't do it. I can't go back in. But his captain puts his hands on his shoulders behind him and starts edging him towards the door, saying, you're going to be fine. I'm right here with you, one step at a time. You're good. He went through his first fire, went on to become later on a deputy chief, he comes down here, he teaches, extremely knowledgeable, tremendous human being. Point is, when he told me that story, I said, oh my God, you doubted yourself? I'm looking at this guy the way we'll look at a Navy SEAL, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, I had the privilege to sit down in Marcus Luttrell's house with him and talk to him about what it was like, how SEALs train. And he's telling me stories to make me realize they're humans just like us. When you think these guys are ready for anything, he's sitting there saying, hey, you know what? Things are going to happen we're not ready for. And think about Sully landing a plane on the Hudson River. Ask him if he ever trained for that. He never did.
No.
He trained to land a plane on water? No, he trained to remain calm when things go wrong. That's what I look at when I come here. That's the kind of inspiration I'm looking for, by the way. I want to know that there's other people that are flawed but have figured this thing out. Jason, you know how I feel about you, Jimmy. So first of all, let me just tell you, I love Jimmy.
I'm a little nervous.
No, I love Jimmy. I love Jimmy. This is a brother. This is a true brother, man. And my wife knows that I'm sitting here with you, and she doesn't mind me sitting with you. She doesn't want me drinking with you and driving with you. And I don't mean drinking and driving. I mean me drinking, me driving. Jason,
That's why I picked you up in St. Louis.
You're great.
Yeah,
Listen,
thank you.
Listen. I'm the guy that I will get a beer when I go to the Fool's Bash, and I'll hold the same beer for 3 hours to try to make myself look cool. It'll be warm, and I'll sip this warm thing, and I'm such a lightweight.
You just call me anytime you come in town. I got you. Yeah, we're not going to let him come.
I've said this about Jason before. You make me want to be a better person. You do, and part of the reason is just the way you compose yourself. I see a guy who, first of all, this is a guy who sent out an evaluation to his department to evaluate him. What chief do you know does that?
Not this one.
Oh, I know. I'm kidding. But when he's telling me that, and sometimes Jason will call me, he's like, hey, I could use some advice. I got something going on. I'm wondering if and I'm sitting there thinking, Jason's asking me for advice. I think you're perfectly capable of making better decisions than me. When this guy promotes a book, I'm buying the book, and I just bought Upstream, by the way. You promoted that.
Oh, Chris.
I didn't start it yet.
No, yeah, I got Brad, who wrote that book, was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to diving into it. But the point is, like, we can all see things from other people and take, you want to develop yourself into a better version of yourself, take certain things from other people and say, I like the way Jimmy Silvernail does this, and I need to do this a little bit better, so I'm going to take a page out of his book. Or I like the way that Ray McCormick does this, or that David does this, or Billy, or Brian, or Susan. And just implement some of the tactics that they use. Being a coach, a baseball coach, I can tell you this. I try to teach my kids certain things, and every now and then I'll say, try this pitch, and I'll show them a new pitch. Some kids throw it, and they land it the first 4 or 5 times. They're like, I love it. Other kids will not land it the first 4 times. I don't like the grip. I don't like the grip. And they don't want to give it anymore. 4 times is not enough. But if you don't like the grip, I'm okay. Let's find a different pitch for you, though. My wife just called me yesterday. She goes, you know what? Nikki just threw a pitch several times in yesterday's game. It was amazing. I don't even know what pitch it is. I said, well, I know I didn't teach it to him. He probably learned it on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where they learn stuff.
That's it.
But everybody's going to find something that they do really well and just go out and be the best you. Be the best you, man. We don't need carbon copies in the fire service, but we do need passion.
But that's a good story too. The fact that we have all failed. I mean, we have all had major failures, and the key is bouncing back from those failures. I mean, you've said it a lot. We've all been turned down here at this conference, but you just keep coming back, and eventually you're going to find your niche. You're going to find your foothold here, and if you're lucky enough, you keep coming back. But
Yeah.
that's the advice, that a lot of people should understand when they put in either, well, not just to put in here, but to teach in general.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get in front of people.
And I would argue, and I think you'll all agree, it's the hardest is starting in your own hometown.
Yes.
And that's really where, if you begin, you start where you're at,
Right.
and make an impact where you're at, because you're going to get. It's hard. It's hard.
I remember conducting a confined space drill at my department, and two guys that were about 10 years older than me on my shift. I'm the deputy. They're
Yeah.
firefighters on my shift. So it's not like I don't know them. But I saw them whispering to each other and kind of motion towards me, and I don't know what they said, but this is what I think they said. Can you believe this guy is now our chief, teaching us something? Like, seriously? Because I learned so much from them over the first 15 years of my career. I wasn't mad at it, I wasn't upset about it, and maybe it didn't even happen. It's just what I think was happening when they were talking. But the point is, to your point, that's where you're going to cut your teeth. Because if you try to act like you're something you're not, they're going to call you out on it.
100%.
And that's why, and let's talk about, I don't know why it's coming to my heart. I feel like I got to talk about it. The kitchen table at the firehouse.
Yeah.
Kitchen table at the fire. If the fire station was a living, breathing organism, the kitchen table is its heart, right? The kitchen table is where all the best and worst conversations happen.
That's right. Yeah. One or the other.
Yeah, and anytime anyone ever asks me, what do you miss since you retired? You miss anything? I always tell them, I miss the kitchen table. It's pretty much it, I miss the kitchen table, but here's the thing. You'll have great conversations. You'll have conversations about fires and incidents. You'll have conversations about things you should not, and we're grateful HR is not there when we have those conversations.
What?
But we feel like we're entitled to that because of the things we say, the things we experienced. And I like to say this. As you move through the ranks, you're going to understand the kitchen table really should not have any rank. However, the kitchen table still needs standards. It still needs standards. We have to be very smart and teach our firefighters the same way you teach your children at the kitchen table how to deal with a challenge. We got to talk to firefighters about how to act appropriately, how to behave around people. And if they're having an inappropriate conversation,
Right.
we got to be able to stop that right then and there. Be strong enough to stop it and say, no, we're not going to do that. Not here, not now, not moving forward. And here's why. And they may look so low. Now you're a chief, you're different. Now you're a captain, you're going to be different.
Yeah.
You're right, I'm going to be different. I hope you're different. Think about this. If you are the same person today that you were 10 years ago, you just wasted 10 years of your life. So if you're going to be the same captain that you were as a first-year firefighter, and you're not ready to be a captain.
No. Do what's right, not popular.
There's a
Right.
maturation that has to happen.
Yes.
Through that, and when you deliver, like you talked about delivering messages earlier,
Yeah.
and how important. If you haven't, some people are building a brand or they're building whatever it is, but you've got people that are listening to you, whether it's one or 10,000. That message, there's a responsibility that comes with that.
There's a very big
A
responsibility.
huge responsibility that comes
Yep.
with that, and not only just the message, but how it's delivered.
Yeah.
What is the how and approach matter, and that's that. To me, that's the level of maturation of. Do you understand all of the peripheral nuances that come with
Yeah.
that influence that you now carry with you as an instructor?
A very good friend of ours who we all had dinner with last night, and I won't say his name because it's his story to tell, was telling me that he was brought on a podcast by a couple of guys, and he had a conversation with them, and he said, look, I just need to tell you guys something. I love what you're doing. You're putting out, good content, but however, sometimes you go a little rogue and you're going to get someone killed. He's telling me he had this conversation with them. I go, really? He said, yeah. I said, what did they say? Well, they said, well, we don't think so because this is the right way to do things. And he said, but then I told him this. I said, you know what? When you got 20 years on a job like you do, maybe it actually is the right way to do things. But the new firefighter, if they try to do it your way without your knowledge, your skill, your ability, your situational awareness, they're not going to see the bad things happening before they happen the way you do. Right. So they might just keep going. And he said the conversation made them say, I never really looked at it that way. He's like, keep going with spreading a message, but be careful. Be careful with giving someone the wrong, because here's what happens. If we share a message and it ends up ruining somebody's career, that's not the business I'm in. My business is I want to help you enhance your career.
Right.
I want to help you enhance it. So the advice I'm going to give you is the best I can, based on not just what I feel the right thing to do is, but I'm going to tell you everything I did wrong.
Just going to say, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Experience.
That's good.
Yep. Take it from experience.
Well, we're getting close to the end here. We're under 4 minutes. Time for some final shout-outs. I wanted to put a real quick shout-out and a thank you to the International Society of Fire Service Instructors, an organization which Jason and I were both board members on a long time ago, but we're still a part of it. But they made a wise decision in giving this award to our good friend, Frank. But that's what I wanted to part with today.
100%.
Can I say something? Okay, so because I'd rather spend a minute. We talked about Bill Guston.
Yeah.
I want to spend 1 minute talking about it. I'm going to get emotional. I'm going to try not to. I got a call last year, and someone at ISFSI said, hey, we just want you to know that you were submitted, for the Instructor of the Year, but Bill Guston's getting it. I said, okay. They said, well, yeah, we just thought, what you did. I said, hold on, back up. You don't have to say it. Bill Guston deserves this way more than I do. I said, this man should have that award. So if you're calling to try to make me feel, I said, look, I'm happy for him. If I found out we were kind of up against each other, for lack of a better, and I got it, I would not feel worthy. I'm grateful that he had it, and more so now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
More so now.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
But you definitely deserve it. It's an honor, and it's an honor for me to sit here next to you and congratulate you. So, it's well deserved, brother.
I appreciate you saying that, my man.
Definitely.
Take us home, brother.
Yeah, I mean, great talk, and it is an honor to sit with someone like yourself, Frank, not because you're just a great instructor, but you're a great person and friend, and a person people should aspire to be like. The same like with Bill and all of the others that have won that award and that come here and share willingly and mentor and coach the next generation. And we need people that are sharing the right messages, giving the right material, which the people here do. And the future of the fire service is going to be complex and complicated. And they need the messages that you get here at FDIC. And we're thankful for Fire Engineering Radio, Clarion, FDIC, David Rose, Diane, everybody behind the scenes that allows us to come and share and be a part of this big family that is literally a family. And just a shout out, it was an honor having Bill here. I was close to Bill. And if you want to honor him and what all of this means, read something, study something, learn something, then share it.
That's what
and
he
never
would want.
quit doing it. And it's the best way to honor Bill Guston and all of the people that have come before us.
Great message.
Absolutely. Great message.
All right, that does it for us. Join us next time for our next edition of Fire Engineering's Tactical Impact. I'm Jim, Jason, Steve, Frank, thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
See you next time.